Welcome to the Cosmic Cadence podcast. We are your hosts, Kate
and G. And this is the podcast where we decode the cosmic vibes of your favorite albums and the people that help bring them into the universe.
Hey there, welcome to another episode of the Cosmic Cadence podcast. Today we're going to be diving into one of our favorite bands and probably some of our favorite humans. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see we're also repping the band Turnstile. And we're going to be talking about their album Nonstop Feeling, which turns 10 this year. Or turned 10 this year. Well, yeah. It already did. It happened.
It did.
In January. But, better late than never to celebrate. And that's what brings us here today. So before we get into this album, I think it would behoove of me to acknowledge that we are firmly in the new year and we are going through it, but we're here, and it's exciting to be here. And we're so stoked to be talking about amazing albums like this. I remember where I was in 2015 when this album came out. I had some of my friends kind of put me on to Turnstile early on, and I was I can't believe I'm going to admit this right now, but at first I was a little hesitant to listen to what my friends are suggesting. And I'm glad I kind of overcame that, because I don't know, I'm not snobbish with my music, but I take pride in discovering stuff on my own.
Yeah, I feel like you're one of two. There's always the two types of people.
Yeah, I like to find things on my own, but I do have some great friends that also have amazing music tastes, and they were kind of like, you should check out this band, Turnstile, they're pretty cool. And the pride in me is like, I want to discover them on my own, but something clicked one night and I was like, oh, let me check them out. And I've been addicted ever since. They are the greatest band out there, especially their live show. To quote from another album of theirs that maybe we'll get into this year, who knows? You really got to see it live. But yeah, this first album was just, such a moment for them. And I remember going back to one of my old colleges. It's funny as I have so many, but I went back to one of my old ones, and someone that worked at their label at the time had come to do a speech, and he was really excited about everyone they had coming up in that year. And it was a bunch of us kids that he was talking to, and he played the band Floor, remember them? He played the band All Time Low, and then he played Turnstile. And
what a mix.
A crazy mix. But me and one of my friends are sitting next to each other, and he's like, does anybody know this band? And he started playing Gravity, and we just looked at each other and we were like, we know them. So it was just fun memories like that I associate with this record. And, it's been fun to watch their journey too. They have gone from being not necessarily an underground band, but obviously they come from the hardcore world, so not as mainstream as other music genres. But to see how much they've grown in the last couple of years, it's amazing. It's my dream for them to be the biggest band in the world, but at the same time, I'm I kind of miss when it was just a few of us that were into them. But c'est la vie.
I do feel that. I, on the other hand, cannot remember where I was in 2015. But I was thinking about it today, actually. I do remember, besides being around them in the music world and finding out about them that way, my first memory with Turnstile was seeing them open for The Story So Far at House of Independence in Asbury Park.
Wait.
Oh, what year was that?
2018, because I was at that show and that was my birthday weekend. That was how I was celebrating my birthday. That's crazy. We were at the same show.
Clearly, see, Look at us now.
Yeah. The universe working its magic.
But okay, so it probably was because I couldn't remember if that was for Time and Space or for this album, which cycle that was. But I was blown away by their live performance, but it was probably the first time I had seen the community, the crowd like that, where people were just doing acrobatics, cartwheels, flips off the stage, and I was like, this is awesome.
Actually, I may have gotten it wrong, because Time and Space came out in 2018, but I think that show was tail end of 2017. Before, right? But they had just dropped the first single of Time and Space.
That would make sense.
So they were, okay. Lines were a little blurry. I stand corrected. It was 2017. Still crazy that we were in the same room at the same time. This has happened to us so many times, by the way. And we I think we were working together at that time too, but we didn't really know each other.
It was early years. Yeah.
Yeah. Very crazy. Very crazy.
But we've been so blessed to see them
so many times, so many times.
And in many different capacities, I guess, many different types of venues. And it's amazing, obviously, to see their growth. But like, I think probably for both of us, one of our favorite shows we got to go to was 2 years ago now. I don't even know. But we went to Baltimore to see them at Auto Bar, which obviously they're from Baltimore. So it's a hometown show. But the energy of that show gave me the energy of like seeing them for the first time. So that was just really awesome to see while they were in their Glow On album cycle, and obviously had grown so far. Like we saw them, even on a festival stage that year. So
yeah, I think it's funny you bring that up because I was thinking about this show the other day. The other side of that spectrum, seeing maybe them play to one of the biggest crowds they've ever played. They played Brooklyn Mirage, I think it's called, in the pouring rain I think it was like late October, early November. I don't know how, we were still doing shows outside, but it was so cold and it was pouring rain from beginning to end of the show. And there was just thousands of kids like standing out there. I remember standing on a ledge because I love the best spot at a Turnstile show, in my opinion, is anywhere above ground that you can take in the band and you can take in the crowd because everything together is just magic. And that night just felt so surreal of just kind of seeing how big they had gotten in real time, with like looking at all of these kids being willing to just stand out there in the freezing rain to listen to this band. It was amazing.
I will say I'm so mad because that was the one show I had to miss. And I remember seeing the videos and the photos of just this magical rain, and I love a rain show. So I was very sad to miss that one. And I know hopefully one day I feel like we must go into Glow On. So I'll save some of my memories, but I will say my favorite Turnstile show, hands down, was, you probably already know this, but Roadrunner in Boston. Because to your point, what made me think of that is we started out on the top level to watch them, and that was amazing. But just the energy in the room, and I even got you to go into the pit for a minute.
You did.
But it's just one of those things where you have to be in there, and the confetti came down at the end, and that was another magical moment. So lots of magical moments.
We love a confetti moment. Yes. Thus, magical moment right here, right now, this podcast episode for this amazing record, Nonstop Feeling. Let's go ahead and get into it. Your first thoughts?
So I do love this album by them. I mean, I feel like Turnstile can do no wrong for me. But it's funny because last year I really this was one of the albums I dove back into, and it honestly saved me from the state that I was in. Because this album is very there's an undercurrent of emotion.
Yes.
Obviously, and it comes out very aggressive, but I guess to go into songs and whatnot, truly the song Stress, I feel like saved me last year. I would just play that over and over and over, and it really did help me get out the emotions. And that's something this album, I don't know that we've talked about it before, but as women, it can be hard to express emotions such as anger. So this album is one of those where it was so nice to have that outlet to listen to this and kind of let it do the speaking for me. So this is one of those ones whenever I'm feeling that, play it through front to back.
I love that. So I guess it's fair to say Stress is one of your top songs.
I have two. Stress is definitely one of them. Truly in a time of literal stress, just put that on and it'll help you through. But my other one is Out of Rage.
Yes.
And when I was listening to it for notes on this podcast, I forget though, the fade in from Blue Bayou, I always say it that way too. I always want to say Blue Bayou, like a bayou, but it's Blue Bayou. So if I say that, that's why. But the fade in gets me every time. I love it. If you listen to one song on the album, for me, that would be my personal pick.
Okay. I feel definitely agree with you on Out of Rage. It's funny that you called out Blue Bayou because that's one of my top favorites, as well as Gravity and Drop, which obviously feel like obvious choices, but I think when you just think back to quintessential early Turnstile, those songs really define kind of that shift when people started taking notice, and like you get a little bit of everything they are in those two opening tracks. And then Blue by You just kind of shows the range of what they can do. And I love that even when they play it now, sometimes like they'll have Franz sing it instead of Brendan, and it like keeps the song fresh and like kind of gives it another layer. So those are some of my favorites. But it's funny that you said that there's a lot of emotion in this record, but it's kind of disguised through the anger and the rage.
Which is Turnstile in general.
Yeah. And when we talk about, you know, those kind of energies, the main energy I was kind of feeling on this record was, and I think part of this was kind of biased, kind of knowing some of the members and like what their astrological sun signs are.
True.
There is a water energy, but I think that's the undercurrent. But there's a lot of air and there's a lot of ground to me at the same time.
Interesting.
Because I think like with this being like the first kind of like full album that they put out and kind of what spiraled from that, that's what's giving the ground to me of having like the hard work ethic, like putting in the work, keeping our head down, not focusing on what's going on around us and just kind of doing our own thing. And if people notice, they notice. We're not doing it for the attention kind of thing. We're doing it for ourselves. That gives the earth energy. But then the air energy is just how the record is kind of intense is what came to me, but intense isn't the right word. But it's just in your face. You know what I mean? And I guess that can also lend to like a little bit of fire, but the fire, I guess, is like in the air, if that makes sense. But the air and just is more of the emotion that I get. But I think ultimately it is a ground record with some air energy. And I'm harnessing on the ground because I know the release date and you know how I operate when it comes to these sun signs. But that's the energy I picked up from the record. How about you?
Okay, interesting. See, for me, I cannot remember for the life of me when it came out. So I don't have that part of it. But I will say in my notes, I did have a couple ground, so I could feel that. But for me, I'd say I got a lot of water and a lot of fire, particularly Aries. So that is where we deviate, but we will find out.
Yeah. Okay. So let me pull up the chart.
Since you said it is a ground sun and I had some ground guesses, one of my ground guesses was Virgo. So I'm gonna put Virgo out there.
Okay.
So that would be the sun. Then for me, rising, how it presents itself for me personally would be Aries. And for the moon sign, I would say Pisces.
Interesting. Okay, give me 1 second to finish running my calculations. Okay, so what's funny is I was right. I did give away what the sun sign energy was.
I had another Earth, so
I'll let you guess again on that one.
I was gonna say Capricorn.
Correct.
Okay. See, I should have gone with that one.
Yes. So the album came out January 13th, 2015.
Oh wait, I knew that. Duh. Yeah. That's why we're doing this podcast.
It's okay. Memories slip in and out. But that firmly plants it in the Capricorn season. Now, where things started to get a little crazy was with the rest of the chart. Moon and rising specifically.
Okay. So moon, I know you said you were right. So is moon a water sign?
No.
Okay, so that's the air.
Yes.
I guess I could see, I don't think Libra.
Think again, it's Libra.
And I don't get that from this album.
It's funny. When I was just looking at the album, like the artwork, I got Libra from just looking at the artwork. Because it's so colorful and fun aesthetic, and like very aesthetic.
Actually, they are very aesthetic, just as a band in general.
Very aesthetic band, yeah. So that's musically, I get where you're kind of, but if you think outside of it, packaging alone, it's definitely Libra energy on the artwork. But the ascendant might trip you up a little bit too.
Okay, so that would be water. Oh no, sorry. Air. Is it Gemini?
No.
That was coming to me. Okay. Well, I don't think it's a double Libra. If it's double Libra, tell me it's a double
It's
Libra.
a double Libra,
Are you
dude.
kidding me?
Yes. And I think that speaks more to the presentation of the album than anything, like than the
Yeah.
moon. Like,
But well, actually, as we say this, a download that comes to me though is, you know what I get from this album? And I think this is where I was getting water.
Mm.
It's kind of this push and pull in a way of like, I don't want to say being a Libra rising, you know, I feel like Libras can get the stereotype of being like pushovers and kind of
Yes.
like people pleasing. So I kind of got that of like, this is the rage that comes out when you're not setting the right boundaries.
What's funny is you're a Libra rising, I'm a Libra moon, and this album has two pieces of both of us
Ooh,
that
that's
in
true.
turn make up a whole. But I get what you're saying, and I feel I 1,000% agree because also in the way that the emotions come through,
Mhm.
Libra is all about fairness and balance and like
Mhm.
what is right, and if things are not that way, it sends us in a spiral. And I kind of get that from the album too, of like this kind of battle between what the world's kind of putting on you versus
Yes.
who you want to be in that world.
Totally.
So that's the chart, which is amazing. And
Would not have guessed that, obviously.
So me seeing the chart right now is the first time of me seeing it outside of me like harnessing that ground and air energy from listening. Seeing the chart play out that way is very, very funny, but it makes sense. Like, especially the rising being Libra and just looking at the record. If you haven't seen the cover, I'm sure we'll post a picture of it and maybe you'll pick up on that energy too. But I think we should definitely dive into some of the songs and maybe our first thoughts of like I guess going into what our initial guesses were and what songs we thought for that before we guess what songs kind of represent the actual energy.
Well, I will say, I think that I felt a lot of Scorpio, but I think the darkness I was feeling is where the Capricorn comes into play. But it's so funny. Okay, so I guess what I want to say in particular, Out of Rage was pulling very Aries for me, but now that I think about it, I really can see it as the Libra of like, you're out of range because again, like you're not setting that boundary. So it's almost the opposite, but it still makes sense in that opposite form.
Interesting.
The other thing I wanted to say, I guess, for stress, I had put that as Virgo.
I did too.
That's such a Virgo song, yeah. Because I got the perfectionistic, like you're having a panic attack because you're trying to have everything be so perfect. But that could be Libra as well, because as we said, like Libras are very aesthetic, and while they might not be as self-critical as Virgos, like I think that pressure still gets to them.
It definitely exists. What's funny is when I did my listen through, I kind of did it how we do our car episodes, where you go song by song. And unfortunately, the way my brain works, I try and put a zodiac sign for each song.
I basically did the same.
My Libra song was Love Lasso, which I don't think gets talked about enough, and it probably flies under the radar because it's just an instrumental. But I think it's one of their best songs.
I would say I definitely, I mean, just from the name alone, I was like, I knew that you were going to say that actually.
But the music itself, like it's very, like it just brings this moment of harmony and peace and balance to the record that I think is ultimately how Libra is. You know, they are the balance of the world. They want things to be fair and even and just kind of all right, you know? And that's what Love Lasso is for me. And then dipping into some of the ground energy, it's funny that we both said stress for Virgo. But for Capricorn, which is its sun sign, I did guess gravity. That kind of gave me that energy. And it's just because it's like it has such a theme of like determination and like being disciplined. It's like the lyrics itself. It's just kind of like acknowledging what's going on around you, but not letting that stop you and like still kind of moving forward in your path. I feel like that's very much a Capricorn because heavy Saturn energy too of like rules and discipline and always being, you know, tested for what it is that you actually want in this life. But still having the power and wherewithal to move forward despite all the unfortunate challenges that are put on you as being a sign ruled by Saturn.
Which I understand because I'm a Capricorn moon. And it can be difficult. But okay, so that is your Capricorn song, would you say?
We'll call it my Capricorn song, sure.
Okay. Because I have another one as well, which would be Bring It Back. The general overall vibe I got was like picking yourself up to move on. It's almost that the way that you described, like I have to be okay because I need everyone else. Like I need to be there for everyone else. Yeah. So you're going through these struggles, but you have no choice but to pick yourself up and continue on. And so that's, I think, my Capricorn topic.
Nice. And then did you say your Libra pick yet?
No, but well, we have two, obviously. So
we have plenty of two.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so this was originally for me Scorpio, but I see the change now knowing what the signs are. So Bad Wave. It is a heavy and dark song, but the lyrics really spoke out to me. But I see this in a Libra way as well. So basically it talks, I think, in maybe the chorus about like I've had enough of starting over. But at the end, the very end, it says gotta learn to find love in what I got. And like that is such a Libra line.
Definitely
That's such
Libra
a Libra
line. What's funny is I gave that sign Pisces energy, but it can work for Libra as well too, especially when you're thinking about like the dichotomy of the song too, of like two scales, the two fish.
Yeah.
But I would say that's definitely more so Libra now knowing what we know.
And I guess that one for me, maybe I'd say that's like we'll give that the Libra rising for me. But let me see the Libra moon of it all for me. Honestly, okay, this is maybe a stretch, but we both have Libra in us. So I feel like we can speak on this part. But Blue by You.
Okay, get out of my head. Because I was going to say Blue by You for Libra moon.
Yeah. Because I feel like it's really about, I mean, again, kind of in the opposite way, but it's about really loving people and like this person is affecting you, Blue by You.
Yeah.
But it's because Libras see the best in everyone, or they want to see the best in everyone.
Yeah. And then when you let them down, they're left blue.
Okay, yeah, I feel like that's pretty solid.
I feel very good about this one. I think this is definitely an album that I revisit all the time, but going back and listening to it in this way kind of brought new things out in it for me, which was really exciting. And it was awesome to break this down. I can't wait to go and listen to it again now.
And as I said, if you need an album to get your emotions out, if you're feeling stressed or angry, whatnot, it's got the whole range of emotions. So definitely recommend this. Really, you can't go wrong with any Turnstile album. But this one really, especially for it being a debut album, like it goes hard.
And one more thing I'll say, and then we can wrap this episode up because I feel like we've gushed about Turnstile so much already. They are truly a band that just get better and better with every record. So if this is your first time hearing about them, this is the record to start with. Dabble with the EPs, but then just continue because it just gets even better from here on out. Trust us.
Yeah.
And with that, listen to some Turnstile.
I actually really love the back of this. Like, I kind of wish the back was the front. I love this. This is very Libra. Look how Libra.
It's like, very, yeah.
For sure. Like they're both very Libra, very aesthetic.
Mine is a dude lifting weights.
Still Libra. But you know what's funny is that I wouldn't have this sweatshirt if not for you. You bought it.
Yeah.
But then you wanted to get a different size because you like them oversized.
Yeah.
So therefore I got the sweatshirt and then I in turn got you the sweatshirt. Now we both have a sweatshirt. Thank God. I thought you were gonna show up today in this sweatshirt as well. So
I'm glad I didn't. Yeah. Because that would have been too much. You guys wouldn't listen to us anymore if we did that.
We haven't done that. Oh no, we did. We did prepare more. But that was planned. This was not planned.
This was not planned. It also it's a little less harsh when we're both on different like screens.
Sure, yeah.
If we're sitting side by side, it gets crazy.
Too much. All right.
On that note, yes. Thanks for listening.
Thanks so much for listening to the Cosmic Cadence podcast. If you like what you heard, please take the time to subscribe and like, rate, and review wherever you listen. It really helps us out.
You can also find us on socials at Cosmic Cadence Pod on all platforms. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll see you next time.